The windows that watch. The night was calm, but Abigail could feel the tension deep in her bones. As she sat on the old wooden bench in front of her home, a place she had spent countless hours watching the world go by, she sensed something different this evening. The jasmine-scented breeze that once comforted her now carried a strange, almost sour tang that lingered in the air. The moon, usually a silent companion, seemed to hide behind the wisps of clouds, casting eerie shadows across the street. Her mother, always bustling about with nervous energy, had been unusually quiet. Abigail had grown accustomed to the peculiarities of her family, the secrets they never fully shared. But tonight, it felt like those secrets were closer than ever, hanging in the air, waiting to descend. It was the tapping sound that made her blood run cold. Abigail turned towards the sound, her eyes landing on a figure walking up the pathway. Mr. Bossman, a man she barely knew, stood at the door. He held a parcel in one hand, and the polite smile on his face felt out of place, like a mask concealing something far more sinister. Her mother had met him only once before, but they seemed to have formed a quick bond. Too quick, Abigail thought. As her mother welcomed him inside, Abigail couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Abigail had always known she was different, but the full weight of her gift, or curse, didn't hit her until her grandmother had sat her down on one of those quiet Sunday mornings. The eastern sun bathed the room in golden light, a peaceful backdrop to a conversation that would forever change the course of Abigail's life. "You've been seeing them, haven't you?" her grandmother had asked softly, her voice trembling with age but filled with understanding. Abigail nodded, her throat tight. She had seen them, the windows, not just any windows, but ones that appeared where they didn't belong, in mirrors, in puddles, even in her dreams. And through those windows, she saw people, their lives, their sorrows. Her grandmother explained it with an unsettling calm. "These are not just glimpses into other people's lives, Abigail. They are echoes, shadows of the past, but sometimes they bring something more." Her grandmother's eyes darkened as she spoke. "The windows carry the weight of all that has been, but sometimes they open to things that should never have been." Abigail's gift had always been manageable, a curiosity at most. She could see the sadness in the lives of others, but it was distant, like watching an old film. But lately, the windows were different. They didn't just show her the past, they pulled her into it. She felt the cold hands of the people behind the glass. She could hear their whispers, cries for help, warnings of things lurking just beyond the veil of reality. And then, they began to follow her. It started small, a reflection in a storefront window, a figure standing behind her that would vanish when she turned around. Then, the sounds came. The tapping at her bedroom door in the dead of night, the soft whisper of her name, the faint but unmistakable feeling of being watched. Tonight, sitting on the bench, she knew something was coming. The figure of Mr. Bossman had left her home hours ago, but his presence still clung to the air. The parcel he had brought now sat on the table, unopened, as though even her mother was too afraid to touch it. As the wind picked up, Abigail saw the first glimmer of it in the window across the street. A face, pale, gaunt, staring directly at her. She blinked, but it didn't vanish. Instead, it moved closer, pressing against the glass as though it was trying to escape. Her heart raced, but she stood, drawn towards it. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her head. "As long as you don't open the window, you're safe. You can see them, but they can't see you." But this time, it wasn't true. The face was staring straight into her soul, and then the glass cracked. In the days that followed, the windows became more frequent, more aggressive. The figures behind them weren't just watching anymore. They were trying to break through, clawing at the thin barrier between their world and hers. Abigail knew that her gift wasn't just to see these lost souls, it was to keep them at bay. But something had changed. Something dark had been awakened. She could feel it in every corner of her home, in every creak of the floorboards, in the way the shadows seemed to stretch longer than they should. It was no longer just a gift. It was a battle for her soul. The night it happened, Abigail was alone. Her mother had gone to stay with a friend, leaving Abigail with strict instructions to rest and not think too much. But rest was impossible. The windows were everywhere now. They lined the walls of her apartment, shimmering like liquid glass, each one showing glimpses of a world that was hungry for hers. The tapping began at midnight. First soft, then louder, more insistent. The face appeared again, but this time, there were more. Dozens of them, all pressed against the glass, mouths open in silent screams. The glass shattered. Abigail screamed as the cold air rushed in, carrying with it the scent of decay. She ran to the front door, but it wouldn't budge. The figures from the windows were inside now, their eyes hollow, their hands outstretched. But then, something inside Abigail shifted. Her grandmother's words echoed again, but this time with new meaning. "You have the strength, Abigail. You are the key." She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and raised her hand toward the shattered window. And then, she felt it. A warmth, like the sunlight that had once bathed her grandmother's room. A light burst from her palm, filling the room with a brilliance that chased away the darkness. The figures shrieked and recoiled, disappearing back into the void from which they had come. The windows sealed. The tapping stopped. Abigail collapsed onto the floor, her body trembling with exhaustion. But she had won. She had faced the darkness and survived. The journey wasn't over, but she had taken her first step toward mastering the gift that had both blessed and cursed her life. Outside, the wind carried the scent of jasmine once more, and for the first time in weeks, Abigail smiled. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another spooky story. What did you think of Abigail's journey? Do you believe in windows to other worlds? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know what horror story you'd like to hear next. Stay safe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes what you see is just the beginning. Until next time.